generative AI. So as the previous talk has, John has showed you some tools. My talk is on two parts. The first part focuses on Gen AI, how it is different than normal AI systems, and how we can utilize, as academics, utilize this better. So the first part is, for example, the large language models which we do have, how they work, how we can um, use them in a better way to get better results. It is called the prompt engineering. So I will focus on that. And the second part basically focus on the education side of AI. So all of us know basically that AI has generative AI especially has changed the way how we do the assessment, how we conduct basically the course evaluations, or how we even make the content for the course. So all of that will be the second part, you know. So more of a talk, but we will have so we'll involve discussion on some key questions as we go along. Do we have this?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Okay, so if you see, this is the data, you know, so AI system usually works with data. Everyone knows that, you know. Without data, you can't train anything. So data collection is the key, and obviously you need good data in order to make sure that you have basically you can build a good system. Initially, what happened was, you know, you have the data, and then what you can do is you can use it for diagnostic purposes. For example, recognizing different patterns. For example, you have the data, you see, oh, this matches with this kind of case. For example, oh, we have seen this case, it looks like this, and it can end up like this, you know. So from diagnostics, you move to basically prediction. Okay, so predicting the future, that this can happen, for example, in the future. Or for example, you can say, oh, for example, let's say predicting what grades student can. So there are prediction systems which are being used by many universities. For example, if you have the data about the student, for example, what he has done in GCSE or A level, and then you have the data how he's performing in different subjects. For example, you can predict the grades, and based on that, you can provide basically personalized support. So your personal tutor. Here, usually in UK, what happens is every student when he enrolls, you basically provide him personal tutor. That personal tutor is different than your academic tutor, right? So academic tutor, what he does for the course, he comes and delivers. Personal tutor remains there for the whole degree program. And it's the job of the personal tutor, if he's not attending, for example, classes, for example, if his attendance is short, for example, the system automatically generates alerts for the personal tutor. And personal tutor has a dashboard where he can see the performance. Again, it varies between universities. You know, different universities have different systems. But the personal tutor can see, for example, or these are the subjects, for example, which the student is struggling with, and these are the resources which can be used. So that all of it comes into the prediction system, right? And how the prediction system works is obviously based on the data, right? So you see similar kind of students have done that. How and what was done before using the historical patterns, the data, and you predict based on it, right? So prediction system basically comes into the second category. The most interesting thing is the AI system before that does not generate the data. They were playing with the data, right? So you provide them the data, and they use that data to basically predict or diagnose, right? But now what we are talking about is an era which is generative AI. So what does the generative AI mean? We are actually now able to generate a new kind of data. That data can be images, that data can be videos, or data can be text, right? So you are generating new knowledge from existing data. That is where the Gen AI is coming. So we are talking about the Gen AI because you are able to produce new things, whereas in the previous systems you were only utilizing the data, right? So as John has showed you few things in his talk about how we can utilize the data in a better way. My talk is, the first part again, is how AI, generative AI can be used to dynamically uh, learn and generate novel ideas. Okay, so let's move on. So before we move to that one, how we do usually do the search? You know, as academics, what we do is if you want to find something, right? This is our normal practice. We write a query in a search engine, right? That query contains few keywords, right? This is how you do it, right? Anyone differs? No, right. So what we do is, this is the statistics which is from last year, right? July 2024, but it should be the same. So what is the total amount of queries done every day is 3.5 billion, right? Out of that, 92.47 are for global market share, for example. 15%, the important thing is 15% of those queries are unique. They are new, right? And the most important things are the last two bullet points is the results you get from the search engine. You know, what are the results you search? 75% is the one you click on the top three results, which belongs to relevance in terms of relevance. Maybe the first page, if you want to argue. You know, you don't go into the second page. Very rarely if you don't find it, right? Or you reword your query. Okay. Now the important thing is these are the searches, right? So what is making these results is the words, the query you are putting it, and the query is basically what? The results, and that result is coming from the 3 or 4 keywords which you put it in the query, right? For example, on the right hand side, if you see weather in Wolverhampton, for example, right? Or Korean restaurant, for example, in Birmingham, or SQL query in Excel, right? And now the important thing is the keywords here. So you know, the search engine knows that these words are you are looking for: Korean, restaurant, and the location. Right? For example, weather, Wolverhampton, and today. Right? So the results will be result displayed will be actually related to your query. Right? This is how basically the traditional AI systems they pass through the data and do the relevance match and then result the result, right? Return the result back. Okay. How does Gen AI basically differs from this one? Can anyone? So this is normally right.
It happens that Wolverhampton. So mostly people are looking for weather. Then it automatically comes weather.
Right, but the query you write to a large language model, is it the same as we do for Google or search engine? Right, so you use ChatGPT, right? Or for example, LAM or whatever large language model you want to use, right? So the query is not keywords. Agreed? So this means the way we use basically generative AI is different than basically, right? So what we are doing right now, so this is our loop. So you have a task, you you identify some keywords, you put it in the search engine, and what happens? You get high quality results based on the keywords you put, right? And what you do is you repeat. This is the routine, right? So this is called a habit loop, right? This is our traditional habit loop, right? But when we talk about Gen AI things, including Gemini, ChatGPT, or any other, this is not, this habit loop doesn't work there, because we don't go with basically the keywords there, right? How we work with them, right? So this is a comparison. You give the words, the keywords are text, right? And you get the result. Whereas for the Gen AI, in order to produce the output, the new content, which can be text, which can be image, which can be any other format, we are not putting it words. We are actually providing in context a prompt, and that prompt is really important, right? So that is where the prompt engineering came in. So you can provide para, you can provide, you can interact with the system, to improve it. You can provide a whole document to it, So the way we interact with Gen AI systems are different than our traditional AI systems. With me, everyone? Okay. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, okay? So this means the first task is understanding how these prompts work. Okay, yeah, go on.
So, first of all, differentiate between the normal search engine and AI-based database.
Yes.
So, we can understand both systems accordingly. Differentiate between the normal search engine database and AI database.
Generative AI based.
Generative.
Yes. Yes.
So, what the major difference between them?
Between them is input, how we basically give the input,
Irrespective of structure,
irrespective of structure. Yes.
mean both structure are same.
The AI systems,
Means normal conventional search engine and AI based search engine both are the same or pattern.
depends, because a lot of steps in search engine are not related to AI, but the core part of algorithms where the actual things are happening. For example, for data collection, they have the crawlers which will be crawling along the web, searching for new pages, collecting the data. Once the is collected, then you have the pre-processing steps where you remove the irrelevant information, right? Then the core engine of the search engine, most of now,
Indexing.
yeah,
They
they
the indexing.
yeah. They are using now AI-based indexing. So they previously, use indexing techniques. I don't think so now. They are valid. They are relevant because it makes more sense to use AI. To provide the intelligence, what kind of things we will need, right? For the like we teach to the students the indexing techniques. They are not valid in real time now. They should be. Although we don't know how exactly they work, but most of them are based on AI now.
Also, there is another question. As you said, pictures, images, and text are the data.
Yes.
So, as a picture is a data, or it is a bit in a bit form.
Yeah, it's the data, regardless what format it is, right?
OCR or in a bit form, except.
They are actually, so the processing of the data will be different, but it's actually data, right?
It takes the picture, images, and text as a picture or as a bit form.
So the processing of the search engine you're talking about, or
No, taking of the data. As you are saying.
previous slide, okay? Go on, yes. We are not providing any images here right now.
No, as you said that now for AI the data, pictures
Uh-huh.
and
Can be
Imagine the
input.
first
and
slide.
text
Can be given as input, yes.
So
So
he's asking,
it in the form of the picture, as a picture, or it would be converted into bit.
No, so if the picture is a scanned document containing text, it will be converted into text. If it is an image, then it will be converted into image.
In most of the cases, when we input that image, it asks to give me a.
So depend upon the context, basically, it will see what actions it needs to perform. Does it clarify?
It means we have to give very right prompt.
Obviously. If you don't, then you won't get the result, right? If you don't provide it, it's a system which is trained, right? So, similar to, so you can think about AI systems as kids, so you train them. if you have not shown them what to do in unknown situations, it might do the right thing, it might not do the right thing, but it will learn from those as well. So it's a system which learns from the data, right? And it learns from, and the dangerous things with Gen AI is that because it is learning from the interactions you're doing. So for example, you are using ChatGPT, right? So you are telling it to do something, right? Okay, it provided you the result. You said, no, this is not the thing, this is what I need to you to do, right? So it learns from your queries and your data is stored, right? So it's in the terms and conditions that whatever interaction you are doing with the LLMs, they are saving it for training purpose later on. So every interaction you're making will make it better. So for example, let me give you an example of Google Map, right? All of you use it for navigation, right? Even you're not using it, it is actually tracking where are you going. So all the information is being sent to Google servers, and they utilize that. So if you have not seen, just see a video of BBC investigator on Google Maps. Even you put it on Google flight mode, the phone, it still tracks you. Whenever the Wi-Fi is available, all the information is sent to Google, right? So which means they utilize your information when the car stops, so it knows exactly where you are going. So they can use, it's not for obviously tracking you, but to improving the system, that this is where, for example, that is why the timings are very, very correct. For example, if I want to go from A to B, I know exactly how much time on average in this time will take, and that is where not only on Google, every other system is doing it, so data is critical. Important thing is this. Okay, so the important thing is how you use these prompts, which I was talking about, right? Right. Okay, so you need to provide instructions, we provide instructions basically to the Gen AI. Okay, so this prompt means it should have these things. The first one is context, which is the background information, to help the model understand the topic or scenario. This is the first thing. The second thing is task, what you want the model to do. The third thing is details, any specific constraints. For example, you want a summary, for example, in 200 words, or you want a para in this format, for example. Then the format, the output, should it be a PPT, should it be a paragraph, an essay, you need to provide that. Then the tone, do you want a formal, informal, technical, what kind of thing you want? For example, if you want technical, it will give you a different, language. If you want informal, it might be a different, okay? And you need to set the boundaries, the constraints on top of it, if there are any. So these are the 6 different prompt tasks. You need to ensure that you provide it along with your query to ensure that the results you are getting is correct. Okay. So let's move on with some examples, right? So this is a prompt, right? For example, I open ChatGPT or Gemini and I ask, write about renewable energy technology. What do you expect the model to do? It will give you an answer which is very generic, right? It might end up writing a whole essay, because the thing is, it's very generic and it does not specify what I exactly want. Does not specify the format, does not specify any basically restrictions, So it lacks details, the first one, right? So if I write it in a better way, for example, same goes for explain digital marketing, still ambiguous, too wide, broad, right? So this is a good example of the prompt, okay? Compose a concise 200-word summary, okay? Now the model knows that the output should be 200 words, okay? Then we are outlining what? Outlining the most recent achievement. So this means we are looking for most advanced achievements in renewable energy. So it will focus, the result will filter out all of the previous, results which are not needed. You will be focusing on the latest innovations, okay? And then what I am adding on, ensure that the summary highlights two specific examples. So it knows it needs to add two examples, okay, on, for example, like innovative technologies or breakthrough in efficiency or large scale implementation projects. So it knows what type of examples it should include inside that summary and also explain their significance. So now the model knows the constraints, it knows what we are looking for, so the answer will be very relevant and the response will be very structured. Okay, same goes for this one, right? So again, if you see here, provide a detailed explanation of digital marketing, highlighting its core principle, its features compared to traditional marketing. So you are comparing this one with the traditional marketing, and obviously from the last 2 years. So it will focus on the query itself. So if you don't mention these in your prompt, in your query, you won't get the value. Okay. So this is just the basic. So all of us have used basically, right? Right. So this means there are three key principles you need to make sure in your query: clarity, relevance, and specificity. Okay. So these are the three things which you should have in your query, right? Okay. So that's good. So this should be in your prompt. So right. So prompting means again, so process of crafting and refining prompts to interact with the generative AI systems. Again, the language, context, and desired output should be in it. Okay. So there are four different of prompting techniques you can utilize in order to get relevant result, right? So is anyone aware of these? Have you used any of them? For example, zero short prompting, one shot prompting, few short prompting, and chain of thoughts. Right? So most of you have genetically used ChatGPT, right? Okay. So while you were using example, have you thought of, oh no, it's wrong, for example. So if it is wrong, what was your action to it, for example? Make it more brief, okay? You provide more details, but still it is not getting it. Example. More specific. Did you provide in your interaction any examples to it?
Yes, yes, sometimes.
Sometimes, right? So, do you remember what scenario it is, for example, where you specify, oh, no. What I am talking about is, for example, a student, in computing course, on this one, uh, or you are making an assessment. Do you use these systems for assessment, for making assessments, for generating rubric,
Yes, yes.
for marking the students?
Yes.
No. So you don't use them in any of the academic systems right now. No, for generating output feedback,
Yes.
for generating feedback. Right. Okay. Uh, other than that, you don't use it. Okay. Right.
We also
Drafting
use
is-
solve person problem. Yes.
For example,
If you have tried in someone, ask ChatGPT how to resolve it.
ChatGPT cannot resolve it.
For YouTube channel description and title and tags.
Right. So
Sometimes 5 MCQs.
right. So you don't use it for
Short time.
for assessments. You don't use it for marking it. You don't use it for making the criteria. Okay. Right. Okay. We'll discuss it. It's really good if you start utilizing it in your. The problem is if you don't use it, you can't get the benefits, the positives it is offering. There are a lot of negatives, no doubt about it. Just John said, just 8 pictures and everyone can make anything he wants. That is why you need to ensure that whatever you post on social media, think about it before posting. So Gen AI, the videos, you can make any videos of anyone, you know, the voice, even, you know, you record my lecture, for example, for 10 minutes, and you can use my voice as training and generate whatever of my voice into another thing, you know. So it's very difficult now to identify what is generated by AI as compared to what is generated by the original person, you know. It's difficult. Anyways, so let's talk about the zero shot prompting. So it is normally what we do. We use it and without providing any examples. Okay, so we just curate. So this means in zero prompt, you don't provide any reference, and the chat GPT or whatever large language model you're using will use its own knowledge on which it was trained to answer your query. Okay, so this means you won't be able to. So for example, like summarization prompt. Okay, so I give a paragraph to it and ask it to summarize it for me. Right? So what it will do is I didn't give an example. It will use its own knowledge base, how it was trained, and summarize it for you. Now, the summarization done by different large language models will be different. So if you give the same para to one, for example, LLM, let's say ChatGPT, it will be different. If you give it to, for example, Copilot, it will be different. If you give it to Gemini, it will be different. Why? Because the data in which those were trained were different. The models were different, right? So the way the model works is different. Okay, so this means it will be different. You will get different responses. Even if you give 2 times the same thing to ChatGPT, and you will see the response is different.
Yeah, of course.
Right? So
So what's the difference? Why it is different when you repeat it? Well, the data
Because-
is same, the model is same.
because so it basically shows, so there is no constraint that it should repeat itself. So the constraint is that the answer should be logical and it should fit what the user requirement is, right? So what it does, it runs the model again. So what happens is the weights are initialized randomly, you know, so one time you run it, it will be different, the weights are different, the next time you run it, it will be different. So that's why you don't get the same, answer. It might be that you get the same answer if it is in the same environment, same, but you don't. This
Basically, I'm asking because you are very much focusing on prompt thing.
yeah.
So you are giving the same prompt,
Yeah.
so then in the backup, they should be give the same weights in both
No,
times.
you don't, because the models are already trained. You're not training them, so they are already there. You're just using them, right? So the
But
way
why
this,
are they picking different weights for the same?
because this is how AI works,
Okay.
right? So because if you don't, the thing is, you know, in these scenarios, the large language models, you know, they have not constrained them. So for example, if I made an AI system like an AI calculator example, right? And I'm saying, okay, take the inputs 2 plus 2, the answer is 4 because it is one answer and it will always be 4, right? So whatever times you repeat it, it will be 4. Here, the thing is you provide it a structure that this is how it should be. Okay? The output should be like this, you know, and you're not providing logical means. It should follow the syntax of UK or whatever US language, you know. It should be logical with non-grammatical grammatical errors, you know. So it's fulfilling those constraints only. We're not saying that you have to repeat every time the same answer you're giving. You can, if you want, you can. So what you have to do is you have to retrain and put a constraint on top of your AI model. It is possible. But for the things which we are using, they haven't put the constraint.
And we can we use different all inputs to improve our prompt?
Yes, yes. So if you are interested, you know, there are many open source large language models available. Open source. So these are the ones which are used like Copilot, ChatGPT. They are closed. Closed book means you can't edit the underlying model, right? But there are many available online. So you can even constrain them according to your requirement. For example, one of the projects right now I am doing with a company, um, as a knowledge transfer partnership here, is that company basically wants us to develop a system where we provide a contract as input, a contract, right? So this is the job which the company needs to do, along with the terms and conditions, along with the deadlines, and if you don't meet the deadlines, what will be happening? So what happens is if you don't meet those deadlines, then you have to pay the client, for example, that much amount of money. For example, the job was 100K, right? And if you don't complete, and that has to be done in 2 months' time, but if you don't complete it by that time, then you have to pay the company 20K per day. Example, right? So if it is delayed, then the company which is actually doing the things will have to pay much more as compared to what it was, the contract amount was, because the terms and conditions, you signed it, right? So you are in a legal obligation now, you need to pay it. So we are developing a system using large language model, right? But that large language model does not need generic, knowledge. That needs to be legal language. What the lawyers basically, what are the keywords we need to look at? What will be in order to clone it and show it to the user, right? So you can still use it, the ChatGPT, but it will still miss key points, which you are looking for, right? So that kind of thing. So you can customize it, for example, for healthcare, you can customize it for education, you can customize it. There are ways of doing the things. So you don't need the generic one, I mean. So the other thing is, for example, let ask something when the Eid is celebrated, Eid al-Azha is celebrated, for example, or when the Christmas is. So it will use its own knowledge base, and provide you the answer. So zero prompt basically is where you don't provide them the example. One shot, as the name suggests, you provide one example. Along with your query, you provide one example to that I want something like this. For example, like here is an example of review labeled as positive. Okay, so I'm providing positive. I love the movie. It was fantastic. So it was given a positive review, right? And I asked it, the Gen AI to classify whether the review, the below review which I am passing is positive or negative. And the review is the food was cold and tasteless, right? So I provided an example and it provided negative. So it used that example for the prediction, for predicting the low one. Yes,
I have two questions.
go on.
One is the prompt you're showing is a very general kind of thing,
Yeah.
daily doings or all that stuff. In education, we have very specific things. For example, if I give a task to any student and you just go, write the prompt and get the answer. So the reliability of an answer is a big question in that case. One thing. Other thing is that what is the database? You're saying it's a database base. So it means the database is all the available data on the internet. Is it like taking everything in a real time, or is that the fixed data that put in, right? So it means the new things that are coming out would not be in that chat GPT or anything else.
Yes, I
So
agree.
then how it can be a generative, right? It is also given everything. The only thing is doing, this system is doing, it gets the data and writing it out in its own words, right? To make it summarize. But
So,
that is not a new data, right? Is it like that?
it is new data. So for example, I can give you an example, right? You will ask the ChatGPT or whatever large language model or image generator to generate a new logo for my business. That knowledge does not exist. That knowledge was created from the knowledge it had. Right? So the new knowledge generated is good, bad, reliable, trustworthy, correct, factual. We don't know.
Yes.
Right?
That's my question.
That's another debate. We'll do it in the second half, Yes, but you are generating new data, right? It can be text, for example, and it can be novel thing. So you are asking it, oh, write a story, a new story, for example, for something on this topic. It might generate a new story which doesn't exist. Create. So this means the new generation, the data is being generated, right? So that is where the gen word is coming in, because it is generating new data. So whether that data is correct or not. So coming back to your first question, which was about the student, right? If you provide even the generic large language models, the student grades, example, right? That this student, for example, has achieved this marks in the previous semester, mid one, mid two, quizzes, assignment, project, okay? These are the computing courses, these are the math courses, these are, for example, the other courses, religious courses. You know? And this semester is taking these courses. Please predict the grades of each one of the categories, even mids. And then compare, you can compare the performance. The prediction made by that would be much closer as compared to the actual grades. Why? Because it has huge amount of data. We're not talking about, so let me give you an example. Let me show you example. Because it's not related to this talk, but let me show you an example what people are actually doing. Right? Give me a second. Just want to show you how where we are actually moving on. So I need to just remove it because I don't want to see my personal things. Just a second. Okay, let me show you this quickly, very quickly. But I don't want this discussion to go into this direction more than this, because we want to focus on that. So, okay. So, can you see my screen, right? Okay. So, this is a tool, okay, right, which is made by DARPA. Okay. If you don't know DARPA, DARPA is a defense organization in US. Okay. And I work on this project at USS. So what this is a urban simulation. By urban simulation, we simulate the whole city. So we put the houses, we put workplaces, we put schools, we put hubs, we put basically, imagine whatever you have in the city, and we put humans in it. The humans in it, these were agents, right? Which were mimicking human behavior. So in some of the scenarios, we put greed in the humans, in the agents, virtually. They want more money. Some were fine, you know. And we saw, let me show you very quickly. Oh, sorry. Click the video. Let me show you. This is quickly, you know, this is what it is, the city. You know, it has houses, it has commercial properties, it has pubs, you know, and this is the social network. Initially, you'll see nobody is nobody's friend. But these colors are shown that, oh, greedy people, you know, less greedy people, the people who were, you know, social, these are the differences. So you can see as the simulation is running, you are making friends. Some of the friends, you know, you won't, if you go to the pub, some of you are meeting at the pub, and you know, on the weekends, you make more friends, and the clusters being formed. All of it, we did not tell them. You know, this is all coming from the data. They are making friends because that person is greedy, you make friend with greedy.
So that's just one factor.
Is this classification, sir?
This is not classification, this is emerging behavior. This is AI learning, the humans learning as we go along, the same behavior here. So you see the clusters being formed. See the larger clusters. So a friend, a green, for example, characteristics will make a friend with green one, right? And this is a simulation which we did for them. But the more dangerous thing was, okay, let's give $1,000 to this person and see how he spent the money. So profiling. You give the money to that specific person at specific time and see the behavior of that person, right? Also, there was another team. So we were developing this simulation. There was another team which was trying to predict what this person will be doing. So what we do is we produce the data from here, put it in a file, and send it to DARPA. DARPA gives this file to another team which were analyzing the data and predicting, oh, this one will become friend with this one. This one will become friend with this one. Oh, this one will die, for example, is this state, for example. And then they can ask the queries. They were open, okay. They say, oh, agent, please give agent one $1,000. So they want to see how frequent he visits, for example. Now he goes to stores, how much he buys, what he does, and then they can predict, for example, in future what he will do. And then we compare it with actual data.
What was the number of agents?
It was in millions. So the amount of data, this only our simulation was producing per day was in terabytes. Huge amount of data. Just one simulation. So imagine in the whole world, the amount of data which is being produced. Even now your ring bells, for example, the doorbells, you have cameras, smart sensors at home, they are producing huge amount of data, which are being backed up on the cloud. So the data came, so the question was coming from the data, that's why I told you, so huge amount of data. But again, it's not like that. You can't train an AI model on live data because it's not possible. You need huge amount of resources in order to do it. It takes time. Okay, let's move back to our original discussion. But this was just to show you, that this amount of work can be done. So let me show you, for example, how this can be used. For example, just an example, just a scenario. Okay. For example, like this. See, let's say this is a city. So what we say, and then DARPA said us, oh, create flooding or create something that the agents in this region dies at a specific time T1, right? And now what they did is we created a flooding in C. Now there are people who were living in A but working in B. There were people in B who were living in B but working in A. There were people in C obviously as well who were living or working in C, right? At that time obviously they will die. But all of this information was used to create different scenarios. Like scenarios, if something happens to this whole infrastructure of roads will become unavailable, right? So positive, what should be the focus of the rescue efforts? Whether we should build a road, whether we should supply the food, for example, which are the areas which are the most affected ones and need more attention. So all of this is basically done in this project. So just to showcase you that this is where the AI is being used in a positive and a negative way as well. So you can use it for positive and negative as well. Okay, so the first short one was this.
So
Yes.
Just if you go the back slide,
Yes.
if we didn't give the example of this,
Yeah.
and we will only classify this review as either positive or negative, and then what happens?
Nothing happens. It will not give you anything.
You
So,
will mention it as either positive or negative.
yes, if you have mentioned as a positive and negative, if you have not, then what will be the query?
So I'm asking why you are giving an example. If you do not give the example and
Because we
ask-
need a format where we need a query, whether we want to classify it as a positive or negative. And I want to use the example. So sometimes the AI model might not have that knowledge. In this case, if you give it, it will give you the negative because it will have the movie data or something. But in some scenarios where you think, oh, this kind of example, the model might not have. In order to do that, you give an example, and then it will use that example and its knowledge base for answering. Okay, right. So for example, I, I I have the data like this, but I want to convert it into, for example, 1st of Jan 2024, right? So I have a large sheet. I give it 2 examples. Okay, please convert it into the city should be converted into country. Okay, and the date should be converted into this format. So you see, I gave 2 examples, one for New York and the other one for Paris. Okay, and told it that it should be converted into like this, France and US, So it will convert all of your data to this. So you will save huge amount of time in tasks which can be automated using the models. Okay, for example. Okay, so you can put a lot of restrictions, columns. You can tell it the format. So it can do everything for you, right? So this is just an example. Okay, another one where you provide few examples, not one. As the example name says, few short prompting. Okay, so it's similar to one shot, but where you think one shot is not enough. Like for example, if you see here, we have records where you have the name, age, and the sector where the person is working, right? And we have the output where you are filtering out only the ones which are related to technology. But that is not enough, right? Because you need more examples. For example, in example number 2, we have finance and then technology. Then the model will know that you are filtering out only those as output where the people work in technology. Okay, if you have, for example, the enough examples into the first one where you have enough records, for example, healthcare, finance, accounting, and you are filtering out, then you use one shot, for example. But in some scenarios, you need to give it more than one example to to analyze that this is what the user needs. So that in that case you use the few shot. Okay, so it automatically basically filter out those, and you will give the examples what you want. Okay, then the next one is the chain of thoughts, which is really important, right? Where you are actually interacting with the Gen AI systems. And for example, proper interaction. Example, okay, you want a presentation, or you want to, okay, can you write, for example, I want to make a presentation on Gen AI, give me, for example, some topics which should be included, okay? Then you can say, oh, right, okay, can we focus on this area? If I want to focus on certain area, can you elaborate this area more, Then it will change the response and filter out those which are not relevant. So it's an interaction. Oh, what I did. Right. So, for example, like I'm planning an event to raise awareness about cyber-related things, right? This is my query. So, my query to the large language model is, what points should I consider? This is a question from my side. Okay, I want to focus partially on cyber crimes related to females and young adults. So this is the constraint I included in it. You will only give me the main points. This is what I'm telling it that I need just the main points. I will first check the points and then will ask you to add more details to those points. So this means I'm telling that it will be a conversation with you. You give me the points and then we go on from there. So it will give you, For example, these are the chain of thoughts, okay? And then your response, for example, would be, oh, I want to start up this, my thoughts on how to do it. For example, it will give you again right? And then, your points are well organized, but there are some suggestions to define what. So this means you are interacting with the system, improving the responses as you go along. Yes.
So you are making some word as bold. Is it important or
These are the old given by them.
the previous slide, when you give the prompt, I'm planning an event and I will.
Yeah, this is just for you guys. So that we are telling that I'm planning an event. I will first, because the thing does not understand the keywords. You either you tell it that the keywords are in bold, then it will understand. Or that keywords in. But for it, it's the same context. Okay. Right. Okay. So. Right, and one more last thing about prompt is can be personalized as well, right? So, for example, this is really important as well. For some interactions, for example, you can tailor the responses according to a personality, according to the audience you are. For example, you will be presenting to blinds, for example, or so it might the responses the voice should be different, or so it can be personalized or a scenario based as well. For example, scenario based means you are working as head of department, right? And now you got another job, a better job opportunity, and you are willing to take it, right? But your organization, right, want to ensure that the transition happens smoothly and everything is transferred properly without any impact to the students or whatever. So you can ask, for example, that this guy is saying it's working in a data center. How I can ensure, for example, the smoothness of the operations. So it will give you the response will be that specific scenario based. So again, it can be another one. For example, it can be there was no, I removed it. So but you can personalize according to personality as well. Or you can say, oh, I am targeting these kind of things, the responses should be personalized according to them. Then you can. So all of it basically, and the flip is you become either AI becomes your basically it's behavior based, typical roles of are reversed. So you basically become, let me show you. I want you to ask me questions related to helping us solar power PM 2.5 sensing platform for air quality monitoring in the city center, right? So AI will ask you basically to how good or bad, and you specify how your performance will be evaluated using MCQs. So this is the first, and you also ensure in this one that you will evaluate my performance as beginner, intermediate, expert, and master. So it will gradually you will see that the game basically the questions asked will become harder. Have you ever played a dynamic game? How many of you play Candy Crush? Most of you. What you observed in Candy Crush? Tougher and tougher, right? Okay. Let's say you are stuck on 4,000 level. Example. What happens?
Frustration.
Okay, frustration.
We try to improve it, like we try to find the reason why.
Does the game help you?
No.
Sometimes
Yes.
it asks us to like pay some
Yes.
extra.
So let's say you're stuck for 3 days. Now what happens? Have you analyzed what happens?
Google it the answer that how to pass it.
Okay. So what happens is if now when you play Candy Crush, observe it for one week. Okay? When you are stuck on a certain level, right? What happens? It will give you free boosters.
Yeah,
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You get free boosters. Also, it's not only the boosters, right? In the game itself, the candies will become more easier. You know, for example, you are not expecting, oh, this move will do a lot of, you know, it will remove a lot of candies from the game, you know. So it helps you pass the level. How it is doing it? They don't want you to leave the game, right? This is the first purpose. So they are analyzing your behavior. This is how it is. You know, so at one point they will help you pass the level. That is where we want to go with education as well, with the students. So all of these tools are really helpful to the students. So let me give you now the example. Let's come back to, let's move on because we are running out of time. So there are many examples. I will share the slides so you can, right. Before we move on to the next one, this is the key conclusions for the first talk, which is that we can't rely on large language model responses because they might give you wrong answers, which are not correct, which are not factual, you know, because they are trained on large amount of data. They will have bias. They will come up with answers which does not make sense sometimes. So we can't rely on it. And they lack critical evaluation until the humans validate them and say, oh, yes, these are correct, right? So you can't totally depend on, for example, you know, on large language models. No. So although there are many positives, you should utilize. If you're not using them, utilize them in your email responses, utilize them in your assessments, creating the assessment, utilize them for making the rubric, utilize them. It will help you a lot. It will reduce huge amount of time from your, just try to use it and you'll see, for example. Okay, right. Very quickly, where we are going, these are the sectors, these are not us, which is government responses. These are the estimates that if we use these in our regular lives, 47% of the time we can save. So in all the jobs, you know, how many jobs you need to transition? Obviously, there will be some job losses, as John said, but there will be many more skilled jobs at the end of the day as compared to the jobs now. Okay, so just a comparison that 47% of working hours can be enhanced using GenAI. Okay, right, okay. And these are just a comparison of 800 senior business leaders' responses of how the GenAI is helping them, you know, in overall, for example, HR, IT, marketing, operations, you name it, in every sector. And in 2024, look at it almost have doubled as compared to 2023. Okay, let's move on now to the second part. Before I move into the second part, which is this Gen AI good for higher education or not? You know, this is the question we will be trying to answer in the next 20 minutes. I will try to finish off. You know, so what do you think? What do you think? You know, Gen AI. So now you have a good idea how Gen AI, you know, is, how we can generate and new knowledge out of it. You know, so what do you think? Yes, go on.
It's a good choice if it is used responsibly.
Yes, it's a good choice if it is used with responsibility. But the question is how you put the responsibility in the student, right?
You have checks.
How come? What checks you can put on students? Right?
For
I can't check
instance-
his laptop whether he has used Gen
But
AI
you
to
have
generate, for
pla-
example.
But you have plagiarism reports as far as the.
That's a tricky one, you know. My take on that is checking an AI system with an AI system is rubbish. You can't detect it. Even what that AI model will do is it will detect even the human, basically, text
Yes.
as AI. So, for example, I was rewriting the thesis for my PhD student. I wrote it, and then the student came back. Oh, it is detected by AI as AI generated. So nonsense. I wrote it myself. So just ignore it. But he said that the university will say, oh, it's 20% plagiarism. He said, when the university say, just tell to contact me. Rubbish. So what I'm talking about is my personal, just one experience that, I wrote it, and it is detecting that, oh, it is written by an AI. The thing is, AI systems cannot detect 100% that it is generated by AI because they look for some specific keywords, the style of writing. So it's not the only the word, it's the sequence of how you write it. But if I write it in the same sequence, like it will detect me as an AI. So the thing here is, the important thing here is that it's very difficult, right? And we evaluate everything based on the evidence provided by the student, right? So here in UK, we usually don't take the demos, right? In Pakistan, I am aware that you take the demos where the student come in computing that demonstrate what he has developed, how he has developed, Okay, so you have a chance of capturing him, But based on only document which is produced by the student and uploaded on Canvas for evaluation, it is really difficult right now with AI. It's difficult you will know that it is generated by AI or not, right? Okay, I will give you an example. Okay, so these are the 4 questions we need to answer, right? Are they good in day-to-day work? There is no doubt about it. Have the students use it? Should the student use it? Absolutely, they should use it, right? The question is ethical questions along with it, right? So if you're using it, how to reference it, for example, right? I will give you an example of the university where I am, right? What they say about it, and why it will not work. And do we have plans to use it more? Absolutely. For me, absolutely. There are no questions about it, right? Why I'm saying it? Because I can see what is coming in the future, because I have the background in AI, You won't be able to distinguish between student work and AI generated work. There's no possibility about it, especially in STEM. For the other, so my daughter basically was given a homework on mathematics, and then asked, she was doing her homework, and then I don't have time. Open the ChatGPT, give it, and it gave you the whole how to solve it as well, right? And there is an option of along with the answer, you need to provide the working as well. So just copy it and done. What you did? I copied it. Don't have time for this. I said, how you will understand? I know everything. So how do we check, that the student has done the work herself or not? She hasn't. I saw that, but I can't do anything. Said, all the people do that. She is in year 9 right now. In year 9, she is using the system and her 100% homework. I went to the parent evening, just 2 weeks back. Teaching everything perfect. 100% rubbish. She doesn't know anything. And then she starts basically but then she start before the exam, she start revising it. Oh, I need to revise it. She got scored. But the question is not on the evaluation. The question is the homework which was provided was generated and done by AI. And the teachers were unable to caught it. Even okay, you need to show the working. Every step is given by the large language models. Every step. Okay, you are struggling, you should use it. But if you start doing AI, do your work, then you will lose your intelligence, the creativity, the reasoning. That is where we need to ensure that the student should do that thing, Right. So let's move on. So these are the 4 questions, which are important, right? There is no question that Gen AI is actually impacting the education, especially the assessments, how we do assessments, And the problem is what I have observed, I don't know whether you guys will agree or not, is some of the students are very good in using this system. However, some of them are really struggling. So the people who are struggling, you know, are the ones who will be lacking behind in the grades as compared to the ones who knows how to manipulate with these systems, right? So this means these systems are creating a divide which is not fair or not ethical, you know. So how we can ensure that, you know, that this divide does not occur? You know, this means if you want to do that, then you have to include it as part of your curriculum. You need to tell them how to use it, how to get the effective. For example, this prompt thing, you know, you should have included it in some sort of our education so that we can talk. Oh, if you are doing this and you think that the AI is not giving you the right answer, give it some examples so that it can give you the relevant example that thing. For example, something like that, you know. So it should be, yeah. So as I said that equality and fairness are two questions which we need to ensure if we want to you know, incorporate it in basically. But the thing is, most of these systems are free to use, right? You can't, yeah, okay, let's say you can't download it on your laptop, you restrict it on your university laptop or university device, but they have the phones. They will simply download it on their phone, scan it, and it will just give you the answer, right? And even the paid models are much more accurate as compared to the free model. So which means the people or the students who are coming from a privileged background, which means the money is not a problem, they can buy the privileged models and gain an advantage on the people, you know, which can't afford it, you know. So then it's obviously the thing which matters, right? So, right. So when Gen AI came, what happened? The initial response from the universities were, oh, let's ban it. Ban the use, you know, nobody can use it, you know. This was the response, right? So we are all, as educational institutions, we are always catching up. As the development comes, then we say, oh, now what we need to do? Oh, this might be the solution for this one. We are not looking ahead, you know. So the policy should be that we should be aware, oh, this is coming, and we should be incorporating that. And it's not, it cannot be done by a single institution, you know. It has to be a broader policy around it, you know. So these are all temporary fixes, you know. There is no, you know, so this is the data which is UK Higher Education Policy Institute. This is the report from February 24, and they asked the students about it, and majority of the students, which is 5,300 back in 2023, it was early days, you know. They said they are using AI for assessments, right? Over 10% are using AI to generate content for assessments. Over 1/3 of them, which is a 1/3, which is 1 out of 3, you know, which means, you know, don't understand these systems. And the divide is real. So let me show you an example, okay? So this is a survey conducted by a researcher. So on the left-hand side, we have the responses, and on the right-hand side, we have different categories, you know. So most of them are using it for summarizing homework, understanding it, the first category. The second one is most of them are using it for writing the code or the pseudo codes for the project. The third one is explaining errors. They are using it for explaining errors. They are using it for debugging. But if you see, they don't know whether it can, they should be using it for refactoring the code. Refactoring is making the code good, removing the bad practices from the code. Nobody is using it. And writing the test cases. So they are not aware of that. And the ChatGPT, even the large language, does these two perfectly fine as well, right? Let's take another example, okay? So during your computing course, right, did you use any of the following? Again, the response is, if you see, is the same, right? The last two categories is the one where the usage is minimum. Oh, but if you see here, most of them agree, you know, that, you know, it says five plus hours of time per week from there, they can spend on something else. Some of them say, oh, minimum noticeable time save, even 1 to 5 hours, which is good. So AI, if used properly, can save the time for the students, which can be utilized for some other activities as well, right? Okay. So the question for us is, as academics, is should we use AI to develop courses? Should we use it to create content? Should we mark student work? Should we prepare grants for writing it? Should we write articles with it, for example? Should we use it for emails, right? The answer is we should, but as a baseline. The final thingy will be us. So we can say, oh, I want to write a grant on this one, but give me potential ideas, potential points or something. It will give you potential points, and you build on those points. For example, write a rubric, for example. You can automate, just like John said, for example, the feedback system, right? The feedback you provide it and then generalize it using the AI system, not the other way around. Don't say the AI model to generate the feedback without personal recommendation from the tutor itself, right? So there are positive ways of doing the thing. However, there are a lot of issues with the AI systems with respect to ethics, with respect to biasness, with respect to fairness. These are some of the links which I have forwarded. I have provided in the link. If you are interested, just have a look. AI system is not perfect. Gen AI systems have a lot of problems which needs to be sorted out, right? They are not safe as well. Nowhere safe. They can be manipulated. So if you see just the examples of the Australian mayor law, which had a lawsuit, they use a system to get all the information about the mayor. So a lot of things, the chatbots, for example, one of the chatbots from Air Canada gave the wrong information to the client, to the passenger, and he then sued them and won the case as well. So a lot of issues are there, it's not easy. So just an example, in our university, if you are using ChatGPT, right, you have to just refer it. Okay, if you refer it, just refer it. So what student did, an example. So what he did is Python code where he has to find the GCD function, right? The GCD. He referred it for using this could be something modified code from here, and he referred it, that ChatGPT this, and this is my code only. So he just called it. The function was generated by ChatGPT. He just used that function and referred it that this was generated, and this is my code and reference. Right? According to the handbook, now everything is fine because he just has to refer it. He referred it. He did not generate the code himself and just call the function. Same goes for. So now the problem is the guideline says that you have to separate the things. One is what you have done and what you have basically what the AI system has generated. But if you are aware now, the Microsoft Copilot, right? It's integrated in all of the Microsoft tools, including PowerPoint, Word, Microsoft Studios. So now if you're writing something, like a bit or something, right? It will give you the suggestions as you go along, right? What you will do, this is now integrated into your system, right? It's really, you won't be able to distinguish between now the AI code or AI generated stuff with humans. It's better to now change the way we assess the students, right? So this is my conclusion. I think we are running out of time. So what I suggest is the fix, there are temporary fixes, and this thing will be in our lives, right? Whether we like it, whether we dislike it, it will become, students will use it because they find the easier way to do the things, So our objective should be that if we want to assess it, what we want the student to learn at the end of the, and it should remove the document based or evidence based, based on document. If you don't do it, there is no way we will be able to detect that the student has plagiarized. So we have to change the way we evaluate the student. Otherwise, it's very difficult, especially in computing courses, it will become a norm. They will generate the code automatically, the test cases will be generated, everything, So now, if I go 5 years or 10 years back, if you want to develop a website, example, personal website for yourself, you have to write the code, some stuff. Now, every one of you can generate a website in 5 minutes. At that time, if you if the focus was, the designing should be there, this should, now the layout, everything, if you ask large language model, it will generate the template, everything, for you. And you just need to, 5 minutes, the website will be up and running. So same goes, we need to adopt according to, according to what we are facing right now. And the only way is focus on the objectives you want to achieve. The student should learn, and we need to adopt. We need a teammate, and AI is our teammate, So that is, if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer. I don't want your lunch to be more delayed.
I have.
Yes, please, one.
So everyone, like John discussing, and you were, every slide, you were using ChatGPT. Is it that ChatGPT is proper for every data?
That is freely available right now. Right?
Not
And
freely.
yes.
So one of its more is freely available.
yes, but it is widely used, and the accuracy. So if you look at, if you do the comparison with the large language model,